We are 1 month away from spring practice in Tuscaloosa. Of course, Alabama looking to repeat as SEC champions and reclaim a national championship in 2022. As we do each and every offseason, we got Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama on here to preview position by position, both sides of the football for us with 1 month to go. Stephen, how are we doing today?
Doing fantastic, Mark. Had a very interesting Super Bowl between the Rams and the Bengals. One former SEC quarterback got the win there, that being Matt Stafford coming out of Georgia. So happy to see Matt Stafford, after 12 seasons being shoved away there in Detroit, finally get that Super Bowl.
Don't think many people would be surprised to see the current Alabama quarterback one day hoisting a Super Bowl trophy. He certainly did that with the Heisman Trophy last season. Bryce Young, 47 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's widely considered the best in the business. A few people may vote for C.J. Stroud, but he's certainly at the very top of the list. People excited in the Alabama camp concerning 5-star freshman in the 2022 class, Ty Simpson. Run down the quarterback situation for us, Stephen, maybe starting with the thought, how can Bryce Young possibly be better in 2022?
Well, I think a couple of things. I mean, number one, for him, it's going to be learning the growth and maturation, trusting himself as a runner. He did come in as the number one dual threat quarterback in the country in 2020. And a lot of times when you have quarterbacks that really gifted athletically, at times it's like, I want to show how gifted I am running the football, but at the same time, I want to prove that I'm an accurate passer. I have a lot of skills in the passing game. I can distribute the ball all over the field and make all the throws necessary on the field. So it's kind of that push and pull of, yes, I know I can run, and I want to show I can run, but at the same time, I want to also show I can throw the football effectively. So, for Bryce, it's being able to trust himself to run when he's given those opportunities and growing in that area, because the more he can do athletically, the more it makes Alabama's offense that much more dangerous and explosive under Bill O'Brien. So that's number one. And number two for Bryce is just that being able to understand if something's not there, it's okay to throw the ball away. And that's something that he and Tua Tagovailoa kind of share, because with Tua, he would hold on to the ball, he would wait, trying to see if a receiver would come open. And when you wait that long, your offensive line may not be able to block that long. And that was the reason why we saw the 39 sacks that Bryce Young took, and he took some pretty wicked hits a season ago. So being able to throw the ball away when you don't see nothing there initially, being able to protect yourself, your body, and play the next play. So those are two of the biggest things for Bryce. Is number one, being able to trust himself as a runner, as a dual threat quarterback. And then number two, when something's not there, don't be afraid to chunk the ball out of bounds and protect yourself, because you have an NFL future coming for you.
Nothing against the backup quarterback at any school, but he is the guy that nobody wants to see on the field during meaningful competition on the field for obvious reasons, but may be needed. Size up the Alabama battle for the backup quarterback job and how you see the other candidates playing out.
This is a very intriguing battle here, Mark, because in spring, as much as you love the starting guy, and Bryce Young has done an unbelievable job and will continue to do so in spring football, it's incredible how the Alabama fans, their eyeballs turn to, who's number two? Like, who's the guy behind the number one guy? Like, does Alabama have somebody that, if Bryce was to come out of a game, or God forbid, if an injury was to happen, is the number two guy ready? Is he prepared? Can he wow us? Can he amaze us with his style of play on the field, his confidence, the rapport he has with the receivers at Alabama? Who's that number two guy looking like? And for Alabama, thankfully, you have two guys that are incredibly skilled. When you look at a 4-star in Jalen Milroe, who came in the 2021 class from Katy, Texas, by the way of Tompkins High School, big-time player. He's got a huge arm, but he's also he's incredibly athletic. He will pull the ball down. He will take off. He will run. in the small samples that we got of him a season ago. Completed 3 of 7 passes for 41 yards. He did have a 24-yard touchdown pass to Javon Baker against Southern Miss. Of course, Baker is now at the University of Kentucky. Milroe also had 15 carries for 57 yards in those 4 games. So more than likely, he was redshirted for the rest of the season and will look to be back at this point as a redshirt freshman. So he's got a year under his belt. He's got a year in the system. The question that the fans want to know and see is how much better has he gotten with his accuracy? How much better has he gotten with his ball placement and the rapport that he has with these receivers? He's a workout warrior. He's a gym rat. He is in that weight room, and that's something that Jalen Hurts had during his time at Alabama. He was always in that weight room, always squatting, always lifting, always dominating the strength and that aspect of the game. Milroe is incredibly strong in his right, but the question will be how much has he grown in the accuracy, in the anticipation, in the passing part of the game, but also the rapport that he's worked up with these receivers. Because when you look at Ty Simpson, the 5-star freshman in here, the early enrollee from Tennessee, Westview High School, when I watch this guy play, Mark, I see refined Johnny Manziel. I see some Ty Detmer from BYU. I see some Fran Tarkenton in there. Just those scramble-like plays when nothing's going on. He has a way to create something. And his high school coach was kind of leery of him doing that because he's like, Ty, we don't want you getting hurt. We know you can scramble around and make something happen, but we don't want you getting hurt back there. But that was Ty at his best, scrambling around. Nothing was available. He can extend the play, keep a play alive, and pull something out of nothing there. And when you look at the Alabama fan base, they enjoy that wow factor. Like, whoa, like where did that come from? And Ty has that ability to have that wow factor and pull it out. So it's going to be intriguing to see him in the A-Day game. How many plays will he be able to create? Will he be able to take the crowd? Him coming in here this spring, Class 2A, state champion at Westview High School. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year from the state of Tennessee. Ty Simpson, finished his career 61 touchdowns. This combined ground in the passing game of his past season, over 2,000 passing yards, 2,827, 41 touchdown passes, just 3 picks. Very accurate with the football. So this is going to be a fun battle here between a Jalen Milroe, who has a lot to prove because Bryce Young's got the attention, and here comes a Ty Simpson getting attention. So he's kind of that middle child. Jalen Milroe's got something to prove. And with Ty Simpson, it's can he take the crowd as the freshman in spring practice and ultimately in the spring game? You got 2 really cool guys who are battling this thing out.
We got Tide Talk right here for you at the Voice of College Football, courtesy Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. Please join him on his tri-weekly show, In My Own Words, right here on YouTube on the Touchdown Alabama channel. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's at 6 Central Time. It's a great listen, and you can call in Steve and talk Bama football directly with him. Please like the video, share these videos out on social media, subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. We're breaking down the game we all love each and every day with you. Stephen, let's move to running back, and I would argue that there has been no program in the history of college football that has stacked running back talent for as long a period of time as Alabama has. We're talking over a decade that there is always 5, 6, 7 running backs that were highly sought after, blue chip running backs in the stable. And then typically 2 guys that are in the rotation, at least 2 guys, 2 to 3 guys that are premier players and productive college players, if not superstars. This past season in 2021, it was pretty much Brian Robinson's show, 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns, 35 catches, 2 touchdowns. He moves on to the NFL. How do we stack up with all that talent left over for 2022?
Well, first things first, Mark, is where Alabama fans is concerned, hopefully no injuries happen this upcoming season, because that was the big thing for 2021, where you looked at Jace McClellan going down, and you looked at Roydell Williams going down, and Kamar Wheaton, who's now in the portal now, but with Alabama last season, he went down with a knee injury in fall camp. So hopefully, for the Crimson Tide Nation out there, Jeff Allen, David Ballou, Dr. Matt Ray, the entire strength and training staff can keep those injuries at bay. That's the first hope. So if that happens right there, you got a very stacked deck of talent in this running back room. 6 guys on the roster, but the 4-headed monster, you are looking at Trey Sanders, Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams, and Jahmyr Gibbs, the transfer from Georgia Tech. And all 4 guys bring just different things to the table. It's going to be fun to watch, who will be the starter, who becomes the 1-2 punch, who's the change of pace guy. Could a freshman kind of enter the mix? It's going to be fun to watch this running back room because first and foremost, Trey Sanders coming back is 3 years removed from a foot injury. He'll be a couple of years removed from a car accident that left him with some significant injuries that had to have surgeries being done, including a hip issue. So he'll be back fully healthy for the first time in his career since coming in here to Alabama by the way of Florida IMG Academy. So it's going to be fun to watch fully healthy Trey Sanders. What does this give? What does this provide? We saw at the high school ranks what he was. Power runner, speed in the open space, can catch the ball at the backfield, can do everything on the field. Then you look at a Jace McClellan by the way of Texas. Before he got hurt, he served in kind of that Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake type of role where not only does he have power between the tackles, but he's got incredible breakaway speed. And to catch the ball at the backfield, he had 3 touchdown catches a season ago prior to an injury against Ole Miss. So getting the Jace McClellan back, that's going to be fantastic. And that could probably be your 1-2 punch right there with Trey and Jace. But then you have Jahmyr Gibbs, and oh my gracious, you're looking at 1,800 all-purpose yards from Georgia Tech and 7 touchdowns. And people are looking at him like, this is an Alvin Kamara. This is a Reggie Bush type of player. So how does he factor in all of this with the speed that he brings and the athleticism and the explosiveness? And Coach Saban kept talking about he's got the hands on this particular young man. So Jahmyr Gibbs, he can give you running ability. He can give you receiving ability. He can give you kickoff return ability if you choose to put him right there. He can give you punt return ability if you choose to put him right there. And then you have a Roydell Williams that cutback ability. He's a slasher. He's got power. He's got hands as a receiver. He's got pass blocking ability. So it's a 4-headed monster in terms of these 4. And if you can keep all 4 of these guys healthy, this is a special running back room. And not to mention, you still have Emmanuel Henderson, true freshman 5-star, one of the best backs to come from this class in the state of Alabama. And the guy was a showstopper, he juggled 3 sports in high school, played football, played basketball, ran track. And then you got Jamarion Miller, 4-star from Tyler Legacy High School in Texas. And all that young man did was just set the high school record for career rushing yards across 4 seasons, over 5,000. So you got this kid in here. So I think the 2 freshmen, Henderson and Miller, depending on what they do in spring ball, they could be redshirted, possibly not. We'll remain to see what happens. But if this 4-headed monster of Sanders, McClellan, Gibbs, and Roydell Williams, these 4 stay healthy, Mark, it is going to be a special group of running backs in that room.
We love the Alabama football talk with Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. Take the deep dive there. Everything you need for your Alabama football coverage right there, alabamafootball.com. And, of course, Stephen's show that you can catch right here on YouTube. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Central time. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. Central time. I'm an Eastern Standard guy, so that always just comes out of my mouth automatically, Stephen. 6 Central, everybody. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, in my own words, with Stephen M. Smith. All right, let's move on to the wide receivers. And my goodness, Jamison Williams, John Mechie, and of course, Slade Bolden move on to the NFL. And the amount of production is crazy good, especially for the first 2. All right, we got a sampling during games down the stretch when it was either Jamison Williams having to leave the game because of a targeting call. And then, of course, later in the national championship game, he is taken out. John Mechie misses the playoffs. That we saw certain members of this highly talented backup wave step in and maybe not quite hit the target in regards to what's expected of an Alabama wide receiver. Your thoughts about how these guys will battle starting in the spring?
This is going to be probably the most intriguing room here, Mark, and it's because who develops that chemistry, that flow with Bryce Young? Who becomes that guy or group of guys that Bryce can trust out of this group? Because now these are all guys that either came in with Bryce or they came in a class or a couple of classes after Bryce. Bryce inherited a John Mechie. He inherited a Slade Bolden. He was blessed to get a Jamison Williams from the transfer portal. But now these are all guys that all came with him or came a class or two after him. So this becomes a very intriguing group here because, like you mentioned, you bring back a Ja'Cory Brooks. And here's a guy that was one of those guys that had to step up when a John Mechie went down, when a Jamison Williams went down. And Ja'Cory Brooks, we saw he made the big catch against Auburn in the Iron Bowl to tie the game at 10 and forced the crazy 4 overtimes. And Alabama won the game by 2 at Jordan Hare. Ja'Cory Brooks also had a big touchdown in the Cotton Bowl against Cincinnati. So he's made some big plays. He's had some drops, but he's made some big plays also. Then you look at a J.I. Hall, who exploded in the spring game last year, and folks going, oh my gosh, this guy needs to start when he had the 4 catches for 72 yards at Bryant-Denny. But it did not materialize into the regular season, of course. And we've seen where Coach Saban mentioned, he had to get some things squared away, off the field and becoming that player and that individual off the field that he needs to be. Well, late in the 2021 campaign, Hall got better with that. And you saw where he was rewarded with some playing time in the national championship game, but wasn't quite ready for the moment just then. And he admitted to that on social media. He did. So now it comes back to how much has that moment grew him in terms of the maturity of understanding, okay, I had that moment. I wasn't quite ready for that moment. Now I'm ready to become the receiver that I need to be in terms of having that chemistry and that flow with Bryce Young. So there's a J.I. Hall. Then you have guys like Christian Leary and JoJo Earl, 2 really good slot guys. Christian Leary a bit faster than Earl more quick than fast. But now you have an Aaron Anderson as a freshman in here from Louisiana, a complete track burner and a guy that can create that separation. And as you know as well as I do, Mark, speed kills in college football. And we saw that in the national championship game. When Jamison Williams went down, Kirby Smart was like, okay, they don't have anybody else that can do what number 1 does. So we can now lock up these receivers, take them out their element, bring pressure to Bryce Young, because Alabama does not have that guy like a Jamison Williams that can burn a defense and that can dictate how a defense should play Alabama, that can change the entire paradigm of a football game on the field with his speed. So Aaron Anderson, a freshman, has that type of acceleration that can change the whole paradigm on the field. So spring ball between Anderson, Earl, Christian Leary, that's going to be fun. Who wins the slot? Who commands that type of attention from the slot that Jamison Williams did just a season ago? And then you have guys like Trayshawn Holden, who came in with Bryce Young from California, roommates with Bryce Young. Does that finally click? Does that roommate magic between Bryce and Holden finally click with each other? That's going to be a fun developing story there. And then Jermaine Burton, having him come in from Georgia via the transfer portal. How does this look like? Does he play at the top of the formation? Is he at the bottom? What's that relationship like between he and Young? So I look at this group of receivers right here, Mark. It's which guy or which group of guys quickly hits it off with Bryce Young, and the reigning Heisman Trophy winner feels like, I can trust this particular person. That's what that's going to come down to.
Fascinating. Fascinating at the wide receiver position, no doubt, because as you say, Jermaine Burton comes in. He wasn't like a number one guy off the charts, like a Jameson Williams, Jerry Jeudy kind of guy, but certainly proved productive consistently for a championship caliber team. So he's not accustomed to the big stage and the big moments. And then you've got this host of players that at times you saw that spark, you saw that glimpse of what they could be, but then we saw the disappointments with a couple just enormous drops in the national championship game where Bryce Young just placed it on a dime and it didn't get done there in the fourth quarter. So it will be fascinating. Talking up the Tide and talking up tight ends with Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. Got to join him on his show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on YouTube. In my own words, 6 Central. You can call up Stephen, talk Bama, talk SEC football. All right. Jaleel Billingsley moves on to Texas. He's now a Longhorn. Cameron Latu's coming off an 8-touchdown, 26-reception season. So it all starts with him, we know, but kind of size up the tight end room.
Well, right now it starts with Latu, but behind him, you've got Robbie Oots, who came in the 2021 class, and Oots is he's more so of a blocker than a pass catcher. He can catch the football, he can run routes, but he's more so known for his blocking. We saw this last season prior to an injury. Alabama brought him in on those goal line situations, and Oots would just pancake guys to the ground. And Saban really enjoys when you're not getting the ball. How engaged are you? And you saw a very engaged Robbie Oots in that fullback H-back role in goal line situations prior to the injury. So having Oots back healthy will be fun to watch there as he tries to be that complement for Latu. But Alabama also signed 3 talented tight ends in this 2022 class. One of them an early enrollee in Elijah Brown out of Ohio. And Mr. Brown at 6'5", 230, body type of some recent Alabama tight ends when you discuss the O.J. Howards and the Irv Smiths of the world. And he's also really good route runner, really good hands, can get up and down the field quickly. And he's a big playmaker waiting to happen. He can block well also. But Elijah Brown, big playmaker waiting to happen. So with him being an early enrollee, a mid-year guy competing here in spring ball, he has a chance to maybe, could he pass up a Robbie Oots and maybe he's the complement to Cameron Latu. That'll be interesting to watch there. But in the summer, Mark, you have 2 more guys coming in, and those 2 would be Amari Niblack and Danny Lewis Jr. Niblack fits the mold of Jaleel Billingsley, probably a bit thicker than Billingsley was, but the route runner, the hybrid type of tight end, Niblack gives you that in spades. And then Danny Lewis Jr., Coach Saban spoke the Wednesday during the traditional signing period. He said that how excited Alabama was to land him. And when Coach Saban gets excited about landing a tight end to close the recruiting cycle, you might want to do some digging on that particular tight end. And Danny Lewis Jr., he can get it done. He can get up and down the field. He can go 0 to 100 quickly and the route running ability. So you got 3 tight ends that you signed along with Robbie Oots back with Cameron Latu. But this spring, got to keep my eyes on Oots and early enrollee Elijah Brown. Which one of those 2 early can kind of become that complement there to Latu, who does return with 8 touchdowns from last season?
We don't expect to see Nick Saban dancing with Danny Lewis on social media anytime soon. That privilege, of course, afforded to Brian Kelly, who was not able to land the young man. So Saban got the business end of the deal done and was able to bring in one Danny Lewis. So we'll be looking out for him because, yes, if Nick Saban was that excited about bringing in the tight end, yes, there might be a good future for him. Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama, breaking down the Tide with us each and every. Well, we get Stephen as much as we can possibly track him down, but we always love the spring preview from Stephen. We go position by position. Catch him on his show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. In my own words, 6 Central right here on YouTube. Offensive line, Stephen. We know you love to dig into the offensive line. It was not a vintage group for Alabama in 2021 by their standards, but Evan Neal is a enormous loss. You got Chris Owens and Kendall Randolph gone as well.
Well, Kendall Randolph, Mark, actually returned. So he's back. He's back. Chris Owens, yes, gone. Evan Neal, a tremendous loss. Wish him the absolute best in the NFL. He's projected to more than likely be the #1 overall pick. So if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you might want to pick up the 6'7", 350-pounder and help out Trevor Lawrence down there in Duval country. But when you look at this offensive line coming back, it starts off with Doug Marrone going back to the NFL with the New Orleans Saints. That's being reported right now. And Eric Wolford coming in from Kentucky as the replacement to coach that offensive line. And Wolford did a phenomenal job with Kentucky last year. I mean, that offensive line was the heart and soul of a team. When you look at Luke Fortner and Darian Kennard and Dare Rosenthal, that group, Joe Moore Award finalist, and a group that had Chris Rodriguez Jr., over 1,300 plus rushing yards a season ago. And that offensive line helped Kentucky 5.51 yards per carry. I was first in the SEC and fourth in the nation. So, with Coach Wolford, he's going to get you back to dominant, physical, hard-nosed, grinding, rugged offensive line. And it's kind of something that this Alabama fan base wants to get back to, is having that rugged offensive line. But what's going to be fun is, the two offensive tackle positions, how will that shake out? Because you lose Neal and Owens, but you bring back J.C. Latham, Tommy Brockermeyer, two of the biggest names in that vaulted list of offensive linemen you brought in for 2021. 2022, you got two guys who are enrolled early. Tyler Booker, who can play guard or tackle. You got Dane Shore, who could be a really good offensive lineman coming out of Georgia. It's going to be interesting to see what shakes up with him. You got Elijah Pritchett at 6'7". He's coming in the summer. Where could he fit in all of this? But you got some veteran guys, Amari Kite, who can play an offensive tackle. Where does he fit in here? So you've got some guys here that can be at both of those tackle spots, but which two take that job and try to dwindle that number of 39 sacks that Bryce Young took last year down some? That's going to be fun to watch. My eyes will be at that right guard position because Emil Ekiyor Jr., he comes back with experience, but could there be a better option there at right guard? Here's where a Tyler Booker or a Terrence Ferguson could come in, a Jayden Roberts could come in, maybe even a Darian Dalcourt could come in. He can play both guard and center. So that right guard position, as experienced as Ekiyor is, could there be a better option there? Because I think left guard, Javion Cohen showed me a lot a season ago. I think he's got the potential to be a very successful and all SEC caliber player at that left guard spot. So I like Cohen there. At center, Seth McLaughlin. I'm wondering what took so long to put this guy into the mix here at center. It took the second half of the Iron Bowl to get that young man out there. And he showed from Beaufort, Georgia, he's got a lot of ability to play at center. In the SEC championship game against Georgia, did very well against Big Jordan Davis in the Cotton Bowl, did very well against Cincinnati. The national championship game against Georgia, again, didn't get the result if the team wanted, but I thought McLaughlin played well there. I know he's not the biggest center that Alabama typically has at 290 pounds, under that 300-pound benchmark there, so they'll put the weight on him. But if they're not comfortable with him at center, as I'm comfortable with him, you have a James Brockermeyer, of whom you recruited, that can play that position. You have an Emil Ekiyor that can play both guard and center. Once again, Darian Dalcourt started off at center before getting hurt. So Alabama's got some pieces to work with here on the offensive line. But the group that the fan base is most concerned with, Mark, is the left and right tackles, your two tackles. Who anchors the outside in both of those roles, keeping those speedy defensive ends and outside linebackers away from Bryce Young? Those two offensive tackle spots will be big here, starting here in the spring.
And of course, Ekiyor had an opportunity in particular to move on to the NFL draft. So good news for Bama that he comes back to man that interior post inside. Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama, always does an amazing job breaking down position by position as we head towards spring. We're just about a month away from Alabama hitting the field for spring practice. The A-Day game is April 16th. Stephen will be there to cover all of us, give us updates, and of course, we'll run down the defense here very soon with Stephen as well. Got to catch him on his show, In My Own Words, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 Central right here on YouTube. Stephen, we appreciate you stopping by. Always love the breakdown, getting caught up on Alabama personnel.
Absolutely, Mark. I'm pumped for spring practice, so hopefully they can get me back here with this camera.